Stanley, Scuba, Sailing, and Adventures.
Welcome to the home studio. I don't appear in most of my videos, well, except for my hands, when I'm doing a product review and I'm opening those products. Anyway, this is a little bit different type of product review. I'm going to be reviewing Dehancer, and I'm going to be reviewing that product in DaVinci Blackmagic, which is the software I use for editing and processing, color correcting my videos, and doing voiceovers. I'll also be looking at Dehancer for Lightroom Classic, which is part of my photography workflow. And then lastly, I'll be looking at it in iOS as part of a photography workflow. So we'll take 3 different looks at Dehancer. It'll be a 3-part series. I'll do those each as separate short videos, and you'll get a little glimpse into
This is the DaVinci Resolve video editor, and I've already installed the Dehancer product. I was looking for a good screen capture, but didn't find one until after I'd already done the install. After the install, you want to come up here to DaVinci Resolve and then down to Preferences, and then we want to make sure we're not on the User tab but on the Systems tab, and look in the video plugins, and we should see the Dehancer installation loaded successfully. That's the first step after the installation to validate that it actually did install correctly inside of DaVinci. Now if we go over to the color editor and we look over here on the right under Library and then scroll all the way to the bottom, we should find our menu for Dehancer at the very bottom. Film Emulation Dehancer Pro. These are just the first time through steps, so we'll want to drag a node over so we can get into the Dehancer menu, and then the first thing we'll want to do is scroll all the way to the bottom. And down here at the very bottom under Options, you'll see there's a Check Profiles option. We want to check that, and that's going to make sure we have all the latest files installed and everything's ready to go. You can see it already says I've activated my license. I did that when I did the initial installation. I'm not much for reading instructions, so this is a pretty raw product evaluation, but very honest at the least. That's not to say I won't go back and read the instructions later on. I did watch a couple videos, clicked around a little bit, but I'll go back later on, I'm sure, because I really did enjoy the product and there's a lot to learn here, but I'll talk about that as we get into it. The installation itself was pretty straightforward and really didn't take a lot of time at all. As you can see, this update's running pretty quickly too. I really wasn't familiar with Dehancer at all before I started messing around with this. So if you're watching it, I'm assuming maybe you are and you've come here looking for an evaluation, or if you're just a regular on my channel, Dehancer is a film emulation, as it said, right, tool, and it really does some very interesting things. First thing you want to do is grab some video, right? Drag it into your timeline. I grabbed this little section of interview I did with Chef Michael aboard my sailboat Rum Rations, and this one was Chef Michael's first time in the galley on Rum Rations. So when I shot this, it was pretty dark. It was at night and I wasn't really happy with the color, so I thought this would be an interesting time to look at Dehancer because there's so many things you can do in terms of film emulation and light and color adjustment. It really gives you, from what I read, some very granular control over those things. So we'll drop the Dehancer node in, and again, I didn't read the instructions, so I'm just going to click through all these menus, and probably not every single one of them, but we'll hit the ones that look the most interesting and see what we can do. The first thing I want to do is change this quality and then disable all tools, because I'm going to start with nothing in Dehancer turned on. So if you look, we look at that node and then we look at the Dehancer node, there's no change in color. There's nothing being applied from Dehancer yet. So the first thing I want to do is look at my input. Now my understanding is, depending on the camera and how you recorded it, you can change that source. This is the best for me from the little amount of research I did. But you can make some edits right there, like I just changed the exposure. And then you can come into some of these other options like film, and that's the film emulation. So you have all these different choices of film emulation you can do. So probably what I want to do is look for some kind of film that was better for daylight, because this really is kind of dark, and I want to try to lighten it up. Once I started looking into this, I really got intrigued by the whole film emulation thing. I'm old enough that I remember shooting with film in a camera, not a video camera, but a camera as a kid and growing up, and you took the film in to get it developed, and you really didn't find out until much later whether you had just horrible blurry pictures or not. I'm so spoiled by the new digital cameras underwater. I can look at my picture right after I take it. I can look and see how the colors are, and just whether things are blurry. It's instant gratification. But anyway, they have all these different films here, these film profiles, right? My understanding is they have a laboratory, and they went through and looked at all these different kind of films and developed these profiles so that you can emulate film in your video or in your photographs, because film really offers a different warmth and feel. So you look here where I'm doing the push and pull, see how that's changing the light, but not only the light, but the color. And that has to do with, my understanding, don't quote me, is that would have to do with the chemicals and the amount of time. That's what the push-pull is simulating there. So then we're going to go down to expand and change some of the shadows here. Again, I'm not an expert in this tool. I'm just messing around to see what it's all about, if I like it, and how I could use it. And so far I'm really impressed, because I was very unhappy. You won't even find this video on my channel anymore. I had posted it, but I was so disappointed with the lighting that I ended up just taking it down. You can see the wood grain too. That's one of the things I'm looking at. Rum Rations had this beautiful wood everywhere, and actually Chef Michael helped me at one point. We went through and cleaned all of that wood with Murphy's soap, or it was something like that, and then put a coat of wax on all the wood throughout the boat, so it really shined and had this deep, rich color, and that was lost too. And I'm trying to bring some of that back out, while also kind of lightening everything else up in the video. It's amazing here what you can do with these tools. And again, I just goofing around here. I don't have any training, haven't read the manual, watched a couple other reviews, and decided to get in here and see what I could do with it. One thing I could tell right away is that there's a lot here, right? They've put a lot into this tool. It's a lot more than I expected. So I'll need to do some homework on what all of these things mean, because I don't primarily work in film. Here we have film grain, and we can add or take away some of the ISO. So you can see that's really changing the grain. 8mm, I'm not really familiar with 8mm, 1635 for sure. It's nice that you can enable and disable everything within its own little menu. So you can turn it off and on very easily and see. And then of course they have the reset buttons. The menu here inside DaVinci Resolve is very much like the other menus in DaVinci Resolve, so it's a very natural integration. So I did look up halation and bloom. I had heard of those, but I wasn't 100% on the definition. I did, like I said, I did do some Googling there, and I was hoping that with the halation and bloom, I could get a little more of this kind of smoky, or I don't know if smoky is the right term, effect, but right there. And I know the steam's coming out of the pot, but I wanted that to kind of spread out a little more. And I'm not getting exactly the desired effect, but again, that's not what I had in mind when I shot this. So just trying to think of things I could do creatively with this video, with this tool. Certainly having something in mind when you shoot the video, I'm sure would be much more meaningful in terms of what you could do creatively. I really like this film damage thing. For whatever reason, lately I've been into these old videos. So this is Super 8, right? And we had a Super 8 video camera when I was a kid. And this is what those videos look like. Or if you remember the old videos in school, right? When they'd bring the reel-to-reel projector in, movie time in grade school, if you're old enough to remember that sort of thing. But I really like this. I think I could probably do some really fun, cool things with this. Several different options here. Again, I'm a big fan of the reset buttons on the far right side there. How cool is that? Yeah, this really gets the creative juices flowing. So much to unpack here. I'm giving you a very, very high level overview, and I know I'm not professional, so you're not getting a very technical description of all these settings and options, but you know, I'm trying to show the ones that I think are most interesting. I'm really loving this though. This is very cool. It's pretty user-friendly too for being so detailed and complex. I'm sure if you were, you know, a professional and worked with film, this would be really, really exciting. I mean, it's exciting for me, and I'm just a complete and total novice. I'm interested, if you're using video editing tools, what are you using? I think a lot of people use the GoPro tool if you're shooting with GoPro, and Adobe. I used to use Cyberlink Power Director. I used that for quite a while. I don't know if any of those old videos are still up. There may be a few out there still on my channel, but I've been using DaVinci Resolve for several years now. A friend of mine turned me on to this, and there was a little bit of a learning curve, but not too bad. Drop me a line. Let me know what you're using, how you like it. I digress. So back to the reason we're here today, and that's to talk about Dehancer for DaVinci Resolve. I have to say that I'm really, if you can't tell, excited about the product. I really like it. I can see it becoming a part of my regular workflow. As I mentioned, I really just approached it from a complete clean slate, not having much background. I did a little research, but didn't read the manuals, and I found it extremely easy to use and really get some value out of immediately. I think there's a lot to unpack, as I said earlier, so I'll be doing some research to figure out how can I use all of these different settings and what other things can I do that I haven't even looked at yet. I feel like the film emulation is going to really add some warmth and depth to the video that you just can't get with a digital medium alone. Really cool. We didn't get to the underwater video part. I did take a look at it, and I think I'm going to just do that as a second video. So hopefully that'll come out very, very quickly, and I'm just going to do another video and focus strictly on underwater color correction using Dehancer in DaVinci Resolve. Let me know what you think of the Dehancer product and about the video. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.